Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on the Assessing Student Media Micro-Credential. My name is Corinne Kelly, and today we're just going to really quickly walk through the requirements for this specific micro-credential and take a look at a couple tools that we can use for creating rubrics. Okay, so it's going to be really quick, really easy, hopefully. And I think that you will find that you are probably already going to have some content that you can use to submit for this particular micro-credential. All right, so when we're looking at this one, this is the key method. I'm going to get out of the way. So the educator rigorously evaluates student-created media through standards-aligned assessments of their own design and provides quality, actionable feedback. So what we're really just talking about here is how we are going to go about assessing media your students have created, and they are really interested in the process that you're going to use and the rubrics you're going to use to assess that media, and also your experience with that and your reflection on the process. Okay, so 3 required artifacts here. So the first one is going to be any kind of rubrics, feedback forms, scoring tools, grading tools, and accompanying assignment description that you have used for this project. So they want to see those rubrics, right? They want to see whatever you have used to grade the assignment in addition to the assignment description, right? They also would like 2 examples of student media that they have created as part of the unit of instruction with copies of rubrics and or other feedback provided to the students. So they want to see the media the students have created and the rubrics or whatever you gave them, feedback, etc., that you gave to those students for this particular assignment, and also your reflection on the opportunities, challenges associated with assessing and providing feedback for student media. It can be for this project and also just general reflections over the course that you've reflections on things that you've done over your career, over this year. But really, we do want to focus on this project as a whole. It's kind of like we want to include everything we can from the entire assignment, right? Give you a whole big picture of how it all went. All right, so they have included the suggested implementation strategy. All of this can also be found in the details of the micro-credential, which we will hop over to here shortly. Okay, so provide assessment tools and assignment description. It's going to give you all the details, everything you're going to need to do here. So you can include any of the resources that you use to assess student media for a specific assignment. You can use a narrative description. You can include photos if you have photos, recordings. You want to include those for parts of the assessment process that may not have paper or digital documentation. So anything that you did to assess this needs to be provided. Okay, so if you went through several stages of assessment with your students, through meetings, conferences, things like that, and you don't have any paper or digital documentation of that, you can write a narrative explaining that. You could do a short video if you would rather talk about it than write about it, that's fine, but you need to provide all of that evidence, okay? And then you're going to select the student media that you're going to share with them. It does need to be de-identified, which just basically means taking any identifying information that you might have or that might be on there as far as the student's identity off of it so that we could not associate it with a student. And they want 2 different pieces. So you don't want the 2 very best examples. They want to see an example of a higher achievement for this project and also a lower achievement, so we can get kind of an idea of the range of media that was submitted for the project, and include those rubrics and feedback that was provided to those students to go along with the project. And this is giving them an idea again of how you as an educator are assessing the media, both for our high achieving and the lower achieving projects, right? And then your reflection. So you're going to just talk about your process, your practice of assessing student media in your classroom, what you have done, what you did with this project, what you would do in the future, things that went well, things that were a struggle, what you might change, all of that included. Again, all of this can be found if you go to the Digital Promise site. You can literally just search Digital Promise Assessing Student Media. It's going to take you here, and it really walks you through it. So if you're struggling with this, it's absolutely a great idea to come in here. You can enroll in the course as well if you really want to like dive into it. But I have a feeling a lot of you already have something. Hopefully you still have the student work, right? That's the hard part, I think. But you've probably already done something that's going to align really well with this particular micro-credential, but you'll be able to find your method components like we were just talking about, the implementation strategy in more detail. They've got the rationale and research. If you go down further, it's going to give you some resources to help you with this in addition to anything that might be provided by us. And then they have their scoring descriptions and the submission and evaluation. This is helpful for you. So just like you want to give your students a rubric so that they know how they're going to be scored, they've given you a rubric so you know how you're going to be scored. So we have our overview. It tells you everything that you need. There's your little rubric. That one's really simple. And then your work examples and artifacts. That is a little more in detail because there's more to that one, but you'll want to read through these. It's just like we tell our students, the rubric can guide you to success, right? So if you want to get this approved, you're going to want to go in and make sure that whatever you're submitting is going to meet those yes categories on our rubric. And then the reflection also has a rubric, right? Okay. So that's really helpful. Again, if you want to see this in more detail, and I'm sure we can provide a link to that if needed, if it's hard to find. There are special instructions for your teachers on special assignment, your teacher coaches, and librarians. So in this case, if you're not working, if you don't have a classroom where you're doing this with your kids, maybe some of you do, but if you don't, then you can submit an assessment tool that you use to assess media created by teachers that you have trained, or teachers that you've worked with or helped coach within the classroom, things like that. And then same thing over here, an assessment tool that a teacher you've trained implemented in their classroom. So you can basically demonstrate the impact that you had on the teacher that you've trained and how that was reflected in their classroom, their instruction. There is a guidance document for our TOSAs, teacher coaches and librarians here, that will go into some detail for each of the micro-credentials. So there's our assessing student media, and it links back to that Digital Promise site. If you're on the Digital Promise site, let's see where I found this. There we are. So down under suggested implementation strategy, there is a link here, their special cases document. That is the same document I just showed you. So all of the things I'm showing you, you can pretty much access right here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk really quickly. I don't want to take a ton of your time. This is more of just like putting a little bug in your ear, throwing some ideas at you for rubric creation tools. Okay. All right. We are going to take a trip back in time really quickly. Rubistar is still out there, still around. We like it. We love it. It's great. If you're not familiar with Rubistar, I feel like it's been around since the beginning of time. You can create an account and save your content. I'm not going to worry about that right now because I'm just going to show you what's here. Please take a deep breath and just disregard the fact that we feel like we've traveled back 15 years. I know, it's okay. You can create a rubric from scratch. There are also projects already in here. You can come in and you can search for a rubric right here. All right. You can, again, log in, save your own rubrics as well, or you can come down to this create rubric. I am going to choose, let's do, I'm just going to do multimedia project. Okay, and then it's going to take you here, which has all of the options really. Let's do, look, Hyper Studio, right? It's okay. I'm going to do digital storytelling. Select that. I'm going to put my stuff in here. Digital storytelling. I'm just going to put demo. I am going to put our zip code in here. And let's zoom in a little bit because this is just hard to see. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to come down here. So this is what I like about Rubistar, because when I'm building a rubric, sometimes I have trouble finding the words for my different levels. So you can come in here. We can name our categories, or you can keep them in a numerical category. I'm going to choose this here. You can always make a custom. I was talking about the scoring across the top. So it's like a 4-point rubric. You can adjust that. Okay. So these are the categories. You can do a custom category, absolutely, where you are going to write in everything yourself. I am going to go in here, point of view, sure, let's select that. So point of view, it's going to fill in here some verbiage that we can use, or that we can use, sorry, I'm blurry, there we go, it's my camera, that we can kind of use as a jumping off point, right? So it's probably not exactly what you want, but if you're like me and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even think how to phrase these different levels of achievement in the rubric, this can be a good jumping off point, like I said. All right, so you can come in and you can choose as many categories as you want. So what did we do? We did student dramatic question. Let's do I'm going to do images. Let's do grammar. Like, you don't have to include everything. And again, you can do your own custom. And when you're done, I'm going to go down here. Are you feeling nostalgic? I hope you are. Okay. I'm going to hit submit. And then it's going to give me my little rubric here. Okay. Very nice. And we can download that. We can take a screenshot. We can do whatever we need to do. If it were me, because I tend to be a little extra, I might copy this into like a Google Sheet, and then I can make a copy of the rubric for each student, and I can go in Google Classroom and just fill the rubric out in there if I wanted to. Okay, so you've got options there. All right, so that one is nice. Again, I know it feels old, it is, but it still can be helpful if you're struggling to come up with the words, right? Okay, another one that is an oldie but a goodie are these PBL checklists. This is a more simplified version, and sometimes I would even use this as more, not so much a rubric for me, but a checklist for the students, right? So that can be helpful. And that would be something I would include when I'm submitting for this micro-credential, because it's something that I'm basically using to help assess this media and help my kids make sure that they've included everything. So I'm going to go down. I'm just going to choose multimedia. It just doesn't have as many options. I'm going to choose grade level here. It's 2 through 4. Okay. And then again, with the, let's make it bigger, right? You're going to provide your name. Spell things correctly. And then you can choose these. So I'm going to do, let's see, appearance. I'm going to click open. Which things do I want to include for the appearance? Are my words easy to read? Are they spelled correctly? I honestly like all of these. I mean, if I'm working with younger ones, I'm going to pick the most important things to include. Let's do that. So I'll add that to my list. You can add your own items to your list here too, right? They are just line separated. Let's do media. I'm going to open that. All right. Whatever your requirements are. Okay. Add to list. I'm just going to do a couple of these because, let's do preparation. So again, this is a lot of times more for the student, but it can help me as well. I'm going to make this checklist and this can guide me and in my creation of my rubric. All right, so I'm going to go down. I would continue on if I wanted to. Create my printable list. And it's got this nice little checklist that they can work with. There. Okay. It's just kind of nice. Again, it's nice because I don't have to recreate the wheel. We do have a couple, I want to say newer rubric tools. Okay. We have quick rubric. I'm going to log in here. I think I made an account. Did I make an account? You know what? We're not going to worry about logging in. I'm just going to click create a rubric. See if it just lets me in here. So these are more where we're just going to fill it in ourselves. It's just a nice format. Okay, so it's not going to provide me with anything really, but it's going to let me set this up and format it. I can add rows, I can add columns, which I really like. I like that because it's not always going to be a 4-point rubric, right? We're going to have different things that we need to do. And then I'm just going to call this demo. I typed it wrong by going on. I'm going to turn appearance, media, sources. Okay, save. It's going to make me make an account. All right. And then once you do that, you'll have access to it and you can share it from there. You can see you have your scoring over here as well. So it's kind of nice. It's easy to use, but again, you do have to provide all of the text for the fields yourself. Okay, so it's quick rubric. It's from the people from Storyboard That, which is also an oldie but goodie, right? Okay, rubric creator is another one. Super simple. Does not even have a login. So I'll leave that up to you if that's a pro or a con for you. But same kind of thing here, right? So we are really it's just to help you build it. It's just to give you a structure for it. All right. Now, if you're like, I'm building this from scratch, do I really need this tool? No, you don't. You could use anything. You could use tables in a Google Doc. You could use a Google slide if you'd rather do that and just have it be in one spot. You can use Google Sheets. Speaking of that, I linked on here, and we will have to provide a link to this as well. Okay, to a rubric template from Alice Keeler. So there are Google Sheets rubrics already out there. We're not subscribing right now, but thank you for the kind offer. Okay, go away. Go away. It's just a little annoying, right? Okay, there we go. So she's got a Google Sheets rubric template that you can just make a copy of. She's got actually a couple things going on, and it walks you through everything. Some of this, again, this is older But this is one of those things that doesn't really change that much. We're just really just creating an organized table in a spreadsheet. But she walks you through everything you need. She's got some scripts that she's written to help you with your rubrics, but it doesn't have to be fancy schmancy magic auto grading rubric. It's really more about how you're assessing their media, right? Like the questions you're asking about the media, the conversations you're having with the kids, your process. It's not about how fancy your rubric looks. Okay, so don't worry about that. I mean, if you just have a printed rubric that you typed up, that's fine. Okay, don't feel like you have to use something like this, but I just want to put that out there. You also have a rubric creator in Google Classroom. If you have the plus version of Classroom, then you can make all the little rubrics that your heart desires. If you are using the free version, you're limited to 3, I know, right? So you can only do rubrics on like 3 assignments. Let me create an assignment just to show you. Over here, it has rubric. I have to give it a title. I may have used all mine. Media, okay. There, okay, now it's like, okay, you can do a rubric. There's a little button over here, again, with it being so tiny. Right, over here, rubric. Create rubric. You can reuse a rubric you've used elsewhere. If you are someone that does a lot of projects or you do the same projects every year and you have a Education Plus or whatever it's called, that's great. We can reuse it. I'm going to create rubric. And then it's, again, you've got some options in here. The nice thing about this, if you have access to it, is that it's designed to make it easier to grade when they submit. So the rubric is attached to the assignment. You go into Classroom, the rubric will be right there. Bam, bam, bam. It's going to be easy for us to go in, ideally, and do that. But I always like to mention, just kind of build it out. It's pretty standard. I'm going to delete it because it's going to take it. Yep, delete. All right. So again, you may find that your account could be limited on that. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to mention, and I know this is a hot topic right now, but you can use AI to help you with these rubrics if you are like me again and you have struggles finding the words. So this is linked to ChatGPT. There's so many out there. You have to create an account. Go in here, and let's say I'm going to go down to where it says send message down here. It's so tiny, making our lives difficult. Stop. All right. So I'm asking it to create a rubric designed to assess a 4th grade multimedia presentation or whatever. The more details you provide, the better. We're essentially starting a conversation with the AI here. So if it puts out something and you're like, that's not quite right, you can tweak what you're asking it to do. Let's just see what it comes up with. It is thinking. Oh, it's giving me points: accuracy, relevance, depth, organization. Okay. So I could go in and say, please design a rubric with scoring categories as excellent, proficient, emerging, whatever you want to do. You can tell it what you want to assess. Again, the more details you provide, the better job it's going to do. But like I was saying, I sometimes struggle. It's almost like decision paralysis in a way. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. How do I say what I'm trying to assess, especially at these different levels? This can be helpful. Am I going to use it like this? No, I'm not. Could I? If it was perfect, why not? Absolutely, you could. But I'm probably not. It's probably not going to be exactly what I want. But it gives me somewhere to start. Okay. All right. So remember, if you want full details for this micro-credential, the Digital Promise site is wonderful. If you are teacher on special assignment, librarian, etc., you can still submit for this. There is that guidance document for those of you that meet those criteria. Like I said, I'm really hoping that everybody probably has something in mind that they've done in the past or that they're planning on doing that this is going to fit well for. Just keep everything, right? That's the message here. So you got to have those examples of student work. You got students doing portfolios. Perfect. All right. All right. That is all I have for you. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of us, right? We will make sure that these links are shared as well. And that's it. So good luck submitting for the Assessing Student Media micro-credential. I think you're all going to do great. Thanks so much for having me, and we'll see you again some other time.